Yo, 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 and a yo, yo, yo. On to the
We're going to start this over. Hey, everybody, what's up? It is Grace and Boom with the Education X Show, where we discuss. Whoa, we're going to leave that in there too.
Right.
Where we discuss and dissect. Wow. Obscure elements about education from from
one educators.
We just gonna leave all the bloopers in. We're just gonna leave it all in there.
Why? Because we humans, right? Exactly.
Made up a word.
Right.
I did a what's his name? A Don King.
Ooh,
I'm dating myself. I know.
At least you do an Al. RESPICT.
And I was looking like, did he do that?
Hey,
right.
It happens to all the best humans out there in the world. So look, being in this Education X show, we also give out plugs, tugs, and hugs
yes,
to everybody out there. So first plug goes out to Wesley Peters.
Wesley, what's going on?
He's got a young brother, talented brother.
Yes.
From Little Rock area. He's got a new book coming out. The release will be soon. We'll keep you up to date on it through our Facebook page. It's called The Plant Doctor. So guess what that is on, or who is it about?
It's not about Martin or Rosa or Malcolm, which you hardly ever get that.
Right.
It's not even about Barack.
Right.
It's about someone else.
It is about George Washington Carver.
Yes.
And it goes in depth and is really geared towards young people and how his story broadens beyond just, he made the peanut. Trust me, I've talked to a lot of young people. They think
that's what they
he
know.
made the peanut.
That's what they know.
So he's doing one heck of a job by getting a little deeper into the story and the life, the humanity of many of us as our Black American ancestry. Right. So shout out to him.
Shout out. It's a great book.
Now, we're giving tugs. That's right, tug of the coattail. Just check this up a little bit. To all the adults who stifle creativity, because our topic today, since we didn't give it in the beginning, got you through everything else. Our topic today is, how do you deal with current events in your classroom?
Right.
Are they curriculum killers? Does it just totally disregard your lesson plan, or are you lesson planning for what happened over the weekend? Now, we talked a little bit about this in our past, and it intertwines somewhat to some of our other topics, but we're gonna be real specific. So again, we tugging all the adults who stifle that creativity, and mind you, from admin to the teachers and to the parents.
Right. One more hug though. We want to give a hug out to all of the people, all of you guys who, posted, responded to, gave a lot of energy to our post on lesser known Americans during Black History Month. So Sunday was the last one, and that is on the Million Man March. So if you don't know a whole lot about the Million Man March, that happened in 1995.
I was there.
Then there's
proud member of the Million Man March.
There's an excerpt on there about the Million Man March and what came of it, and how a lot of groups grew from that.
Shout out to my NIU crew who road trip 17 hours, convoy, 4 vans, baby, yeah.
So it was a
DC
great
bust.
It was a great event, and there was no violence attached to that.
Not a single bit.
You had what truly was a million. I think
well over a million
Black men in a place, and there was no violence in 1995. So guess what? It still can happen.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to be talking about current events in the classroom. Do we have any more? You got some plugs? Some more tugs?
Well, we can hug teachers who have stuck it out via all of the Parker Ed strategies that we've helped people on, from some of our old students, some of the old trainees that we've had, and a lot of our workshops, work labs, presentations, where they have reached back out to us and say, oh my God, this stuff is really working. How can I get some more? Of course, people are referencing our book. So We want to give hugs out to those who are still reaching out to us.
We want to thank you guys.
Yes.
It's it's validating.
Keep it coming.
Degree.
Yes. So, get into the topic. Got some questions we're going to throw out for all the people who are in tune and we also, let's go back a little bit. We'll give hugs out to people who are staying with us when we transition to YouTube.
Yes.
We just think this is a better vehicle for us to do some things in advance, keep up with our archiving a little bit. So thanks for hanging on and subscribing. Please do that.
Right.
So here's some questions to ponder while you're out there in digital world. How do you facilitate a well-informed classroom?
Whose responsibility is that?
And mind you, as much emphasis being on student-centered, how do you do that from the sideline? Because you don't want to over-facilitate, because it's all about student-centered instruction these days. So how do you manage this from the sideline doing it, but they know that you're there and you keeping them well informed?
Okay.
How do you monitor student input during a risque topic? We're going to get into some of the risque topics that's out here in the last 4 days alone.
We're going to talk about it today on the Education Network.
Man. So are there any parameters that you put in place in advance? Some etiquette? What happens when that etiquette or those parameters get a little shaky?
Right.
Because of the topic. Which brings me to the next one. How do you manage your own polarizing views and personality when discussing current events? Because from 1st grade to 12th grade, they are going to ask you, what do you think, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so? And you can't play it off like, oh, I haven't kept up. I don't know. You got your phone. We saw you on it.
And that really doesn't do you any good.
I saw you on Twitter and Facebook.
That doesn't do you
and Instagram. I know you know.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think young people are more in tune with current events these days? Why or why not? And it can't be all wrapped around technology. In our era, the little bit of technology we had one computer per grade level, not in the classroom. We came up at a time where you had one big fat back computer and the monitor that took up the whole desk. And that was scary to a lot of people.
Look, our technology were the streets.
You better believe it.
What the streets say?
What the streets say?
What happened on the block in the neighborhood around the corner?
And it's coming in on Monday.
What happened on the playground?
That's right. That's right.
On the playground. Who's that? ABC?
ABC. Yeah.
Y'all don't know nothing about it.
Some
of y'all don't know anything about it.
From now on, we don't own the rights to that music.
I didn't even sing it.
Yeah, it don't matter.
No, I'm sure they don't. But anyway, I'm sure they're not going to go looking for anybody. All right, so current events in the classroom, because guess what? The current events are coming into the classroom through all of these various devices, just from conversation that many of the students are having with their families, with their friends, a lot of misinformation and misperceptions and misconceptions about stuff. So let's kick
it off right now for people who are watching. You're going to see this on Tuesday the 26th.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, by the time you view this, the 3 hot topics that walk into your classroom that could wind up being curriculum killers?
Okay.
Give them some time to think.
Okay. I'm going to tell you one thing, though.
Here's one.
What's his name?
Jussie
Smollett.
That's a big one.
That's huge.
He's right behind him.
Robert.
Your boy Ara.
Well, which R? Which one we talking about? R. Kelly or what's his name? Robert, whatever the guy.
Ooh.
Yeah. Which Robert?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So what she mean is, I'm pretty sure y'all already picked up on it. Mr. Robert Kraft, the owner of the beloved and revered New England Patriots.
That's in the news right now.
That's 3 hot, risque topics. I mean, risque. that have happened in the last 4 days that by Tuesday,
Right.
it's all up and through your curriculum.
In addition
Did
to
you plan for it on Sunday?
the things that just have been in the news forever, the wall, lots of political conversations and current events that are going on. So all of these things are coming into the classroom. And part of it is because your students are listening to their parents talk or other people in their neighborhoods or the communities or whatever.
They have sidebar conversations.
Yeah, this is happening. And I would even venture to say your younger students are bringing some of this stuff into the classroom, especially depending on where they are. So let's say you have some kids that are all into football. They may have heard a little bit of something.
That's right.
Well, what happened to? Hey, that's the guy who owns the Patriots. And now mommy and daddy are like, well, yeah, turn the TV off because they don't want their child to hear anything about that. But then you have older students who are listening to the news, who are watching whatever news media programs, and they're bringing all of this commentary into the classroom. And again, some of the information that they're bringing into the classroom is not correct.
Right.
So what do you do? What do you do? All right, so let's talk a little bit about some statistics, just some basic information. So I found a few things. One is from teachhub.com, and they offer 10 fun teaching strategies for current events. And there's, a lot of stuff like scavenger hunts. The one thing that sticks out to me more than anything else was news mapping. Now, they use a bulletin board, but there's lots of different ways that you can do this whole news mapping and finding excerpts from stories and then talking about those stories and having a facilitated conversation about the story. How did it originate? Where did it start? What are the misconceptions, misperceptions? What are the facts? Which leads to the next thing, and the most important thing is facts. What are the facts? Because
just like how many of us know, we just know. How do we just know and learn it? But when you're in the grocery store and you're about to check out and you look at all those magazines on the end of that aisle, some of them are full of some of that stuff you got in your cart. Be it mayonnaise, ketchup, right, exactly. So, and then the others like, that's a little more credible than these three over here. How did you get there to know that one might have a little truth? This one, I can line my cat box with that. I ain't finna buy that. So those same skills or that same intuition that you have just come to know, now you have to apply it to the digital sources that are now being bombarded to everybody's phone.
And the thing about it is, current events offers you an opportunity to bring in all of the traditional content areas, but make it real and relevant, make some connections for your students.
Because they talk about it anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
why not make it a part of your
the path of least resistance?
Why not make it a part of your curriculum? So, one of a quote that I read about, why do we actually teach current events? And this is actually Thomas Jefferson. So, whatever you think and believe about Thomas Jefferson, this is actually still relevant. If we are to guard against ignorance and remain free, it is the responsibility of every American to be informed. And that's the most important. Be informed. Now, when it comes to Jussie Smollett, I know that when I first read the story, I was like, man, this is awful. This is sickening. And I even posted something on my own personal social media page. Now, since then, there has been a whole lot of information. It was this story. The Chicago police said that. They found these guys. They got video evidence.
He finally turned himself in.
All kinds of stuff. And now the story is even shifting from where it was before, after his arrest. So all of this stuff is happening. And it's coming into the classroom, and kids are going, well, hey, I know that guy. I watch Empire. My mom, my dad, whoever, my sister watches Empire. That's the guy from Empire.
And let this be the truth. As soon as young people begin, and imagine those young people turn out to be adults who say the same thing a lot of times. Well, I heard, get ready. Let them get it out. Don't try to cut them off. But what I heard, and then you need to let that live and let them breathe with that, because it has to come from somewhere. It has to come from some sort of source.
Yeah.
But like in this case, with a little time, more facts came out. As you may hear a lot of legitimate spokespeople talk about it, versus It may be some news source, be an entertainment vehicle. That's not technically a news source. Okay? If it is a news source.
Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah, no. If it is a news source.
Yeah.
That is getting facts from a government body, in this case, or something like that, then that is where you need to just guide some of the young people towards it, because you can't cut them off from saying, but I heard. Yeah, but you want to guide them at least.
Help them identify credible resources.
Don't cut them off, because then you can bring it back full circle when, in this case, he turned himself in. He started to admit to some of the things that debunked the early stories.
And now the story is changing again.
Right, and now
with additional information.
Exactly. And that will be a sort of natural consequence that for young people go, oh, and the light bulb goes on. It's best that, and that is how you are pretty much given a crash course into how you facilitate from the sideline of student-centered instruction when it comes to current events.
And what's interesting about that is not only
you got to pull it off in your personality too. We're going to talk about that later.
Yeah. Not only can you teach to the actual current event, but you're teaching students how to find credible resources.
Right.
You're teaching them investigation skills,
research skills,
how to research, maybe how to put together a presentation. So your students who like that kind of stuff, and maybe they might find their way into journalism and investigative reporting. So you're setting them up for college and career, which is what we're supposed to be doing for sure. But you're doing it in a real world, meaningful way that is going to touch on all of the skills that you need to teach, that's going to get to all of the stuff, or can get to a lot of the stuff that you're expected to teach in the classroom. You're just using a vehicle that makes sense to your student body. So one of the things from this is a little guide book. It's actually called, and I'll give you this particular resource. We'll post some stuff later. This is a guide for using. It's actually a product or a service or a program, but it really has some great information. So it's a guide for how to use current events in the classroom. And one of the things that it talks about is like these 6 different ways or components in which you need to think about how you actually use it. And the first thing they talk about is a teacher-centered presentation. I said student because we are always thinking about student-centered learning. In this instance, the teacher needs to be the center of the presentation because the teacher needs to bring in factual information.
Right.
And as you said, let the students get all of what I heard and what the rumors are and all that stuff. And then the teacher comes in with, okay, here are the facts. And here's where I found some of my facts. So you're teaching them those skills.
But watch how you do it, going back to your personality, because some of you all, not all, but a large sum, S-U-M, a large sum, tend to have a personality that, especially in some of those grades or some of those personalities in which they're very boisterous with saying, I heard, no, this is right, I heard this, my dad, my mom said, whatever. And then you have sort of a challenge with them already, naturally, from other facets or other relationship building methods you've had throughout the school year, and now here's your time to shut them down. Now here's your time to get them back. In other words, here's your na. See, you don't know what you're talking about. So stop saying it.
Yeah.
In other words, I'm going to teach you a lesson that you'll never forget.
That defeats the purpose.
There's no need for you to be cruel about it.
Absolutely.
So be sure you check your emotions when you're saying, okay, get that up. Okay, here's some facts. Now, they may even say, nah, man, I don't believe it. Okay. And then again, like some of these things happen, we even get more information with Robert Kraft. As he was emphatic when things first happened, but now the authorities are rolling out more information.
Right. And here's the thing about that. Okay, so you say your students don't believe you. Use that as a teachable moment. Okay, well then you find the credible resources to support your opinion about this situation.
And then you can exclude, as part of the teacher-centered presentation, no Twitter, no Facebook, no Snapchat, no Instagram,
no Vine, no none of that. I don't know, wherever they find information. So that's just one practice. Another thing was making sure that the background information that you provide your students with is on their level. Like you don't want to go too deep. Like there's only so much detail you're going to be able to give your students. I don't care how old they are.
Right.
About Robert, what's his name from the Patriots, Robert Pratt. Like you ain't gonna be able, you can only go into so much detail.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Same thing. You know, your students come in and they want to have conversations about, hey, did you see the Surviving R. Kelly? Yeah.
Right.
Well, what do you think?
Tread lightly.
Right. There's only so much information you're probably going to be able to share or have any kind of discussion about with your students.
And allow me to add this personal anecdote that I'm pretty sure will work for a lot of people out there. It may even take some practice at home. I thought it was really weird. I found myself often talking in the shower or in the car at a light about, oh man, what am I going to do? Okay, let me practice. And then I got into the practice of practicing in the mirror about something that was hot. Like, I know this is going to happen. Yeah. Especially the anniversary of 9/11. I knew September 2002 it was going to happen. It was going to come about. So let me get prepared. We both not in the same environment, but I worked in a pretty rough neighborhood where sometimes we had old students were killed. We had their siblings in the classroom. We knew about it on the Saturday or over spring break. That happened, and then that Monday coming back, let me practice how they're gonna talk about whatever it is. You know, did you hear about it? And as many times I wanted to say no. That's not being genuine to yourself or to your student. Right. And it's really deteriorating the relationship that you could have with them to strengthen the humanity in there.
And let me just say, so when we first started talking about, you know, this particular topic, the first thing that came to mind was the school shooting in Parkland. Yeah. That happened one year, was February 14th on Valentine's Day in 2018. Imagine what every Valentine's Day is going to be like for those students, for those families who everybody knows Valentine's Day is all about love. And while, yes, they still love their family member, but they have a family member who's not here anymore. So imagine what that is like. Imagine what you could actually teach your students about empathy, taking someone else's perspective, service, learning when it comes to Parkland, letters of support for the students, or just the current event related to school shootings. What does that look like? You can teach them all sorts of statistics. I mean, there's so much you can do. Certainly tread lightly because those are emotionally packed types of events without a doubt. But just imagine all that you can actually teach your students when you focus on those kinds of events.
And mind you, there's a large reward as it is risk, but there's a large reward that's available to the adults and the educators who do at least acknowledge that the topic exists. And I think for young people, a lot of times that's all they want. Some of them even need it. Many of you out there watching us now know it is real, it is life, it lives when you do tackle one of those topics. It didn't go quite well, quite as you planned it, or it didn't go quite well with some of the language, or you didn't have a stronghold emotion, whatever. You try to bring the crowd back, whatever. And then you get that private letter, or while you're on plan, or while you're walking outside, that one student comes and says, "Thank you for the day," or "I really like, that you talked about it," or "Hey, did you know my dad did the same thing?" Right. I haven't seen him since he went to jail, or whatever kind of thing that someone was thinking, it's just me, I'm alone, or I feel nervous, I don't want to come to school. And I did, and you stood up for me even though you didn't. Yeah. Those are the type of things that, for me, I think it's worth it. But again,
it's a safe place that you've given them.
Who are you? Who are you that you can pull it off? Because you're going to have to get used to some awkwardness in order to say, this will be awkward, but we'll get through it together. Especially, let's face social studies class teachers.
Yes. Literacy, social studies, any of that.
Just about anything.
And then the other thing is, as we've been talking about, those topics that are near and dear to your students, to their communities, to their own lives. Like, how do they make meaning of things that are happening to them or in their families or even in their communities? And I think what you can do with a lot of teaching of current events is you can either open a window or you can give them a mirror. And so sometimes they need those opportunities to see themselves in a situation, or they need to have a window into someone else's world, so that they can develop some of that empathy and perspective taking. So there's a lot of, for sure, social emotional learning that can happen when we're doing when we're teaching to those current events. But again, you can reach just about any content area, traditional content area. All right. Some other, now there's some other resources that I do want to give you guys, because I think it's going to be helpful for you when you're trying to figure out how to do this. There are a few news magazines that are very credible, and that are news magazines and websites and web pages that put current events into student-friendly language. One is called thecommonsensemedia.org. I went on there, and it's a great resource. It has it all broken out into grade levels and ages, and how to tell a current event from all of these various perspectives with terminology and language that's appropriate for that grade. So that was great. Another is called Daily Good. It's a news magazine. Positive News, that's another one. So we'll post all these things in the comments so that you can find them for later use if you ever want to find some resources on teaching to current events. Silence. Anything else?
Boom.
Anything else you want to talk about with this topic? Oh, one other thing I want to say. All right, so we're working on this new, what are we going to call it? A new framework, maybe, on the continuum, or moving along this continuum from high risk to high performance. Now, in a previous Education X show, we talked about high performing relationships, and we talked about it in terms of how do you insist that your students do something, but then also show them care, and that creates a high performance relationship. And there's various variations to it that can define the kind of relationship or relationship style that you might have. So we're taking that concept and we're moving that into a different space, and we're talking about the difference between your high risk relationships, high risk companies, high risk schools, high risk organizations, high risk ministries, all of those things that could be high risk. And how do you define that? But then how do you bring in the fidelity to make sure that you're moving towards high performing relationships, companies, ministries, schools, organizations, businesses. So we're going to roll that out probably sometime in March. And build that into some of our additional trainings that we have on group dynamics, cultural humility and civility, a balanced approach to discipline. So we're going to be rolling some of this out, and it's going to be helpful for any of you guys who are working in PLCs or starting that work, professional learning communities. How do you move from high risk to high performance? So we'll roll that out for you guys hopefully next month and give you a little bit more information on that.
So of course, pay attention to how we keep you updated with that by way of our website and Facebook and all of our social media outlets, because as she mentioned, BAD is something that we've done a lot of work with, and we brought it to many places around the country. And BAD standing for a balanced approach to discipline. A balanced approach to discipline.
Right.
That means at its core, very similar to what Grace was talking about, how to balance in your personality and how you interact with young people. Firm structure with passionate praise. Because you have too much firm structure, the passionate praise just won't pan out. You may think you're doing it, but what lingers and what lives beyond is the firm structure. Okay, so you lighten up on the structure, you give a lot of passionate praise. Well, now you're kind of pacifying them. And there are some people, they just happen to be young people, who will take advantage of it. There are adults who take advantage of that. Your niceness, your kindness, a lot of our work. Well, I'm a non-confrontational person. Well, that doesn't mean conflict doesn't exist.
Right.
the power of no is quite powerful. So there's a lot of work that we already do in it, but we just updating it a little bit. So if you've ever been to one of our workshops, presentations, work labs, you know a little bit about band.
Right. So keep your eyes open for that. And thank you guys for watching the Education X Show. We will be back next Tuesday.
And make sure you subscribe to our channel because we got some commercials and other stuff coming out.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, we're going to roll out this. Y'all are going to love it. It's fun. We had a good time doing it.
Shout out to Tyler Kitchen.
Absolutely.
For the score.
And to our videographer.
Oh, yeah. Corey Wilson.
Absolutely.
Most definitely.
So thank you guys very much. We'll see you next time on the Education X Show.